What's up, guys? So I want to do this video today because this is definitely finance related. This is definitely credit related, which I've been doing a lot of lately. Lots of credit videos on credit cards and getting high limits and all that kind of stuff, whether it's with banks or federal unions. But I want you guys to give this video a like anyway, even if you don't agree, whether you agree or disagree with this scenario we're looking at here as far as a change to your credit score. So please like the video. And I want to talk about this and give you a little info, a little background on what's been going on. And this could be huge if this actually were to come to reality. So it talks about changes to the credit score, right? And how the government could determine your credit score. So there's a bill that's been going around in D.C. And this article here, this one plays it pretty straight with just the information. I'll go to another one that says why they think it'd be a good thing, another one that says why they think it'd be a bad thing. So this gives a little background about obviously credit scores, right? How your score is calculated, all that kind of stuff. It talks about the three bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, all that kind of thing. And then it talks about how will the government soon be in charge of your credit score? So this has been going on since I think at least like early July as a possibility. So it talks about how House lawmakers called for credit reporting industry reforms, and some Democrats put out the idea of a nationally run credit reporting system. In fact, legislation was introduced that would establish a public credit registry as an arm of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which works to protect consumers from unfair or abusive practices. Now, a lot of you probably know that right now credit scores, go on your or they're calculated based on the information contained in consumer credit reports, reports generated by the three bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. But it does say how these reports definitely can contain errors. Yes, they can. And how it did get worse in the pandemic, which is very understandable. And how the amount of complaints there were in 2020 was 444,000 apparently, which is quite a bit higher than a normal year like 2019. They had 277,000, but that's still a lot of complaints. And it does talk about how sometimes a mistake on a credit report can hurt a borrower, and it can result in a lower score, or it could become a missed opportunity when it comes to something like getting a mortgage or qualifying for a certain rate on a loan. So this is what it talks just about some of the negatives of the system we have right now, how it can hurt people in trying to rent a home, even if they have a good income. So the goal, by putting credit reporting in the hands of the government, would be to not only reduce or eliminate errors, but also to help ensure that fair practices are upheld. Plus, having government in charge of credit scores could result in less confusion for borrowers and lenders alike. So that's really the whole idea. That's the whole purpose, the whole plan if something like this were to happen. So credit repair or credit reporting is still in the hands of the three major bureaus, but if the lawmakers get their way, the government could soon take over and perhaps even create a new system that potentially works better for consumers and lenders alike. Now, we look over this article here with Forbes. This talks about why we should go ahead and why the U.S. should have a new, a whole, public option put in place. So this this article talks a little bit about student loans here in the beginning, but it does talk about how the House Financial Services Committee chairman, Maxine Waters out of California, she is one of the ones pushing for this reform when it comes to credit. So this is one of the other pushes that they list here in this article. They're talking about student loans and stuff like that. But here where they're talking about the National Credit Reporting Agency Act, like the other article mentioned, this would be a new public reporting agency under the umbrella of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and that is there to protect people from predatory financial institutions. So it says this would effectively function as a new credit bureau, giving consumers a public alternative to the existing private for-profit national credit bureaus. So again, it's the idea of trying to give people another choice besides having just the private option that they have. So, Maxine Waters gives her comment about credit is the gateway to health. She thinks reform is long overdue for the credit reporting system. And then Chi Wu, an attorney at the National Consumer Law Center, she was also in favor of the credit report reform of the hearings that they've been having. So she argued that the National Credit Bureau under the CFPB would be particularly transformative. While public agencies are not perfect, she says at least they would not have profit making at their top priority. They would be responsive to public pressure and government oversight. They could also be charged with developing credit credit scoring models to reduce the yawning racial and economic inequality in this country. And that's pretty much how just the article closes out right there. So Chi Wu and Maxine Waters are obviously very much in favor of this. This website, which I actually happened to find during research, I've never heard of this website before, AmericanActionForum.org, and I'll link all these websites down below. This talks about, this gentleman gives or whoever, I don't know, no, he's the president. No, that's right, he wrote it. He gives a perspective on why this would not be a good idea. So he gives a little background here on, the presidency so far and some of the things that people have been expecting or that have been going on with possible changes to the law. Talks about FICO here, but this is where the meat of it is, where he talks about why he thinks it would not be a good idea. And he says the idea for having this here, for having a public credit registry, is to simply scrap the entire private investment in measuring creditworthiness and competing to supply essential credit information in favor of a single public credit reporting agency. So it talks about how a lot of other Democratic politicians were supporting something like this during the election season, but he says there's no compelling evidence of any sort of market failure that would justify government interventions. This proposal seems like pure government overreach. This is the part where I think this is really what's going to wind up stopping the whole thing. So that overreach would constitute a stunning government taking tens of thousands of jobs, intellectual property, capital investment, and future profitability essentially confiscated in favor of an agency that the taxpayer would have to finance, staff, and operate from scratch. So the point he's making is that if you're anytime there's going to be a new government organization, then there's going to have the money to fund it has to come from somewhere, right? Because the government gets its money from the people, the taxpayers. So if the government wants to have a new organization, new institution, it has to be paid for by the taxpayers. So the question is how much you think the federal government can do a good job with people's credit scores. Because in my young life, what I've seen in two areas where usually the federal government gets more involved with something, it makes the cost go up and it's less efficient. And I've seen that with student loans and with healthcare. So both of those, when the federal government exerted more control, I saw the costs go up. That was what I noticed. So, that's really one of the big pushbacks against this, plus the amount of jobs, which the amount of jobs and the amount of money already involved in something like this is really a big pushback for why it probably will not go through and would be hard to change. Because think of like the healthcare industry. Some people want to just have a completely public healthcare industry and no more privatization. The amount of jobs, I think somewhere around 1 million people work in healthcare in the U.S. So something like 1 million jobs, would be taken from the private system. So when you're talking about that big of a job loss and that much money, a lot of times these ideas sound good, but to implement them is really hard. So will we get, the government controlling your credit score? I think it's doubtful. Just like people who want all the student loans to be forgiven. There's so much money involved in that and so many industries that have a lot of influence that's probably not going to happen either. So I don't think this is really going to happen. Maybe there will be some kind of change. Maybe there will be an alternative to you have a private option and a public option, but I really don't see the private sector for credit scores completely going away. But I do want to hear what you have to say about this down below. So whether you agree, disagree, whatever the case is, I would really like to hear what you have to say and how you think this could really impact people's credit scores.